When the stage lights went out, no one knew that King Von would never come back. That night in Atlanta, everyone was having fun, but King Von's story had begun somewhere else, at another time, on the most dangerous streets of Chicago, in a world where pain and survival were the only realities. And now, despite all the fame, that past had caught up with him.
Davon Daquan Bennett. Very few people knew that name, but everyone knew King Von. He was born in 1994 in Chicago's Parkway Tardens neighborhood, known by locals as O Block. This wasn't just a neighborhood, it was one of the most dangerous areas in America, where every corner had a story, and every story ended with a grave. Von's childhood was far from normal. His father was absent, and his mother tried to raise 3 children on her own. But the most shocking thing was the moment Von witnessed violence for the first time, when he was only 6 years old. He never forgot that day. A street shootout, gunshots, blood. What would be trauma for a normal child became life's reality for Von. Von's teenage years were a turning point. He joined the Black Disciples gang in O Block. It wasn't a choice, it was survival. Without the gang's protection, you couldn't walk those streets. But every protection came with a price. Von's first arrest happened when he was 16, armed robbery. Many more followed. Clashes, fights, suspicious situations. In 2014, he faced a murder case. He waited in jail for 2 years and was eventually released due to lack of evidence. Those 2 years in prison changed him. He was only 20, but his eyes carried 40 years of pain. Most of his friends were either in prison or dead. The walls of O Block were a history written in blood and tears. "Every day I woke up feeling lucky," he later said, "because a lot of my friends never woke up again." But there was something Von didn't yet know. Street life had given him a talent, the ability to tell stories.
2018 was the turning point of King Von's life. As a man who grew up on the streets, suffered, and lost people, he had only one thing: his stories, and he wanted to tell them. He recorded his first songs at a friend's house with a simple microphone setup. But there was something in his voice: authenticity. Every word was lived, every line a memory. When the song Crazy Story dropped, no one expected such an impact. The song went viral, hundreds of thousands of streams overnight. But Von wasn't surprised. "I just told my story," he said. "Millions of people live the same streets. My voice is their voice." Lil Durk, one of Chicago's biggest rap stars, discovered Von. Both came from O Block. Both knew the same pain. Durk signed Von to his label, Only the Family. For Von, this wasn't just a contract, it was brotherhood, family, a chance to survive. The 2019 mixtape, Grandson, Volume 1, made Von a real star. His songs were streamed millions of times. Took Her to the O, What It's Like. Each track felt like a movie, every beat like a heartbeat. But success didn't pull Von away from the streets. He still went back to Chicago, still hung out with old friends, still walked those blocks. "That's where I come from," he said. "That's my identity. I can't forget it." That was the dangerous part. Fame didn't protect him. It made him a target. 2020 was the peak of King Von's career. When the album Welcome to O Block dropped, it debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200. Von was no longer just a rapper. He was a phenomenon. The stories he told were so real that people didn't see him as just a musician, but as a storyteller. Every version of the Crazy Story series reached millions. Von's narrative style was unique, detailed, fast, cinematic. It felt like watching a movie, but the characters were real, the events lived. His relationship with Asian Doll also drew massive attention. 2 stars, 2 different worlds. Their moments on social media received millions of likes. Von was happy. He had made it. His dreams were coming true. But the past was still there. With every success, more people targeted him. Threats on social media, messages from rival gangs, the shadow of old grudges. "Being famous doesn't protect you," he said in an interview. sometimes it makes things more dangerous. At that moment, no one knew how true those words would be. November 6th, 2020. King Von was in Atlanta. His new album was successful, his career at its peak. Life seemed to be getting better. That night, he went to Monaco Hookah Lounge to hang out with friends and celebrate success. It was 3:20 a.m. A dispute started outside. At first, it looked like a normal nightclub argument, but within seconds, everything spiraled out of control. Von and his crew faced another group. Quando Rondo and his team were there. There had been tension between the two sides, social media exchanges, verbal threats, but no one thought the night would end like this. Gunshots, panic, chaos. When Von fell to the ground, everyone around was in shock. An ambulance arrived, but it was too late. King Von, only 26 years old, at the peak of his dreams, lost his life.
When the news spread, social media collapsed. Millions posted, "R.I.P. King Von" trended worldwide. Rappers, fans, those who knew him and those who didn't, everyone had lost something. Lil Durk lost a brother. "Another loss," he tweeted. "When does this end?" Asian Doll was in tears. In the videos she shared, she remembered Von, his smile, his energy, his love. But the most tragic part was that Von had predicted his own death in his songs. The lyrics in "Took Her to the O" now hit harder than ever. "I know my time coming. I'm just trying to live it up."
King Von died, but his stories lived on. His posthumous songs were streamed millions of times. The album, What It Means to Be King, reached number 2 on the Billboard charts. Von's influence went beyond music. He turned street stories into art, pain into lyrics, real life into rap. Many young rappers who came after him took Von as an example, his storytelling style, courage, and authenticity. Young people in Chicago saw him as a hero. Someone had made it out of O-Block and spoken to the world. But he was also a warning. The street life always ended tragically. "Von showed us this," said a fan. "You can come from the streets, become a star, but the past never truly leaves you." When you look at King Von's story, there's a sense of inevitability. It's as if his entire life pointed to this moment. It began on the streets of Chicago and ended on the streets of Atlanta. But the question is, could it have been different? If Von had discovered music earlier, stayed away from the streets, moved out of Chicago, could he have survived? Or was it just a matter of time? Some say Von could never escape the streets because they were his identity. His music was real because he lived that life. If he had left the streets, maybe he would have lost his authenticity, his power. "Who am I without the streets?" he once asked. "My story is there. My people are there." But the painful truth is this: while the streets fed him, they also destroyed him. Today, King Von's songs are still being played. He has over 10 million monthly listeners on Spotify. His YouTube videos have hundreds of millions of views. Fans visit his grave, leave memorials, sing his songs. Walls in O-Block are covered with his image. "Long live King Von" is written everywhere. Lil Durk honors Von at every concert. "If my brother were here," he says, eyes full of tears. The crowd chants, "Von, Von, Von." Asian Doll still talks about Von, still shares memories. "He was my first love," she says, "and my last love." King Von's legacy isn't just in music. He inspired a generation. He showed kids in Chicago that even if you come from the streets, you can have dreams. But he also showed that the past never truly stays behind.
Maybe Von's greatest achievement was this: even in death, he told a story. He showed the most ruthless truth of the rap game. Talent isn't enough. Success isn't enough. Fame isn't enough. The streets don't forgive. "Everyone knows me as a street rapper," Von once said, "but I'm just telling my story. This is my truth." And now, even though his story has ended, his voice is still heard. In every song, every lyric, every beat, King Von is still alive. When the stage lights went out, No one knew that night would be the end. But maybe Vaughn knew. Maybe every word he spoke in his songs was a farewell message. Maybe the entire album was a letter saying, "If I'm gone, don't forget my story." And we didn't. We won't. King Von, 1994-2020. The Voice of the Streets, a lost legend, an immortal story.
King Von's story is painful but real. If this video made you think, leave a comment. If you want to remember Von, hit like. And if you want to see the real face of street music, subscribe. Because behind every story, there is a truth, and we will keep telling those truths.